Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experiences. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is a continuation of our game of Tall Pines. To learn how we generate stories playing games of Tall Pines, go check out our Tall Pines rules primer at boardghost.com. Our humble players, myself, John Holt, with me.
Ken Breeze.
And Kelsey Dion.
All right.
Hey, welcome back, Kelsey.
Thanks.
So far, we have a dead 18-year-old young man, a high school student named Adam Wexler, who has some ties to people in town. It seems like he was the secret lover of Parker Jefferies III, our privileged athlete. He was the young, under his wing, father-figured buddy of Roth Myers, who was kind of looking out for him, the soft-hearted deputy. He was trying to rope his aunt, Liza Wexler, into a potential drug deal, she knowing that she had a criminal history, and she manages the Lazy L Motel just outside of town or at the edge of town or something. Mr. Coffin, we've seen, he's the thankless handyman that our victim Adam kindly repaid his car service with a song. Let's see who else. Simon Vance we've got. He is the eccentric of the town, a cherished eccentric who repairs cuckoo clocks and collects them, and he was shown a kindness by our victim after a little bit of cruelty, and through that learned that our victim had a soft spot for lost things and broken things. And our sheriff, what does our sheriff care about? Nothing.
Nothing. Our sheriff is sort of a blank slate. They moved to town recently.
They're kind of looking out. They have a suspicion for these external rivals,
right.
these
Georgetown.
these school rivals with a bad rep, and they've been looking out for that. And we kind of left the act at a big fight on the scene, and where we saw the Adam Wexler's stepfather and mother outside of the fray. Okay, so going into Act 2, everybody has 2 Act 2 cards, and we're going to go into scenes, if anybody has a scene.
The scene is called Their Last Words. An intercepted missive meant for someone they trusted. Was this their final message? Did they somehow know it was going to be their final message? I think the protagonist in the scene is going to be Liza Wexler, the aunt of the deceased Adam. I think also in this scene, their deputy mayor is going to be in it. Yeah, I think that's it, just the two. Liza calls Roth at home and asks him to meet her at the Lazy L because she's found something of Adam's that he should see. And as you arrive, the camera is again on this faded parking lot that these small, faux-looking cabins are arranged about. One of the cabins is like a double wide, and that's where the check-in counter is, and that's also where Liza has her office. She's outside smoking a cigarette on this night, this clear night. Deputy Mayers rolls up in the squad car. As he gets out, she raises a hand in greeting, saying, thanks for coming out so quick. You need anything to drink?
Yeah, what do you got?
You want something strong? Something hot?
I think it's something strong kind of season.
Mm-hmm. Way ahead of you. She goes inside. Mayers follows her very comfortably. And reaching from behind the counter of the check-in area, she pulls out a warm bottle of Jim Beam and 2 solo cups that look like they've been used before. Maybe even been ashed into and washed out. And she splashes in some of the whiskey, handing one of the solo cups to the deputy. And she says, rest in peace, Adam.
Rest in peace, kid.
Roth, I know you were always looking out for him, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. You kept him on the straight and narrow. At least you did your best.
I mean, I'm trying to trying to keep that part of it out of this investigation, but it's impossible. I feel like he was maybe, maybe like my nephew too in a way. And
No, that boy loved you. He looked up to you. And I know it hurt him to think what you would say if you ever found out the truth. That Adam had another life, another side to him. And I think that side may have had something to do with whoever took him from us. I found this letter in his room. It's a bit of a letter that he wrote himself, sort of a confession.
confession? What? Did you read it?
Yeah, I wanted to show it to you first and ask your advice. He talks about how he was hiding some terrible secret, and it was making him depressed, and he was looking for a way out. And well, he asked me if I knew anyone who might be able to ship some product up this way, and so I made an arrangement and had some product shipped up here. Just to help him out. He seemed to be doing really, really bad, and I wanted to make sure he could finish out school. He's a good kid. Good kid.
Liza, there's other ways. You should have just come to me. Don't have to go back down that road, but
Sometimes you can only channel a person. Can't stop him.
And as you chat over this, Jefferies holding this letter that Liza handed to them over a lamp,
Mm-hmm.
simple little bare lamp, and it's pretty close to it to get a good read. And the heat from the lamp starts to activate something in the paper. Like words are revealed, whether
Yeah.
it's some sort of like invisible ink or something that was washed away, and traces are being activated by the heat of this lamp, this old light bulb. It's almost a love letter to Adam, and it's kind of creepy, like an obsessive love letter. And it's saying, I've watched you from afar. You glow. You are radiant. They don't know how much you glow. They want to smother that light in you. Pedophiles like Roth, and it starts to get a little twisted.
Ooh,
and
creepy.
and perverts like Jefferies, they lust after you and drool after you, and they want to eat your light. But I'll stop them, either by extinguishing your light or by stopping them all. I will save you. That's what you read.
Yeah. That comes out, and we read that.
Ooh, Roth's hands are shaking, like the shadows from the paper by the end of this, and he rubs a hand across his forehead and he says,
what is this? I can't even wrap my mind around this.
I've never seen this before. What does it mean?
This is someone sick, Liza. This is someone.
Adam was into something. You got to figure out what it was. We got to figure out what it was.
God, there's some kind of psycho just walking amongst us right now. Oh, Jesus.
That's what it seems like.
Oh my God, this
Be
is.
careful who you tell about this.
If I was doing my job, I would take this in as evidence, but I just don't know if I could do that. I just don't know.
Something doesn't smell right to me. This is one of the reasons I left the city, was to get away from all this terribleness. But somehow it's followed me here, and now it's claimed my nephew.
Oh God, I think we got to keep this one off the books, and maybe we got to start to look into this a bit more than just like how we've been doing.
And she clinks, or rather taps, her solo cup of shitty liquor as a cheers to that. And that's where our scene will end.
Soft-hearted deputy, did your emotional reaction jeopardize the case?
I think it did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to
Okay.
work on the case anymore. I'm going to do this.
I'm going to do it my own way.
I'm going to do this illegal
So,
stuff.
hardened criminal. If you committed a crime in the last scene, flip this card over.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah?
You admitted to a crime you
admitted
committed.
to a crime committed.
Okay.
Drug trade.
So, understanding shame is going to trigger a scene for me, a secret scene. Where are you when you receive the envelope full of photos, and who do they show in a compromising position with the victim? Oh, it's going to be Vance. Felix will be featured. The sheriff is going to be featured. And I'll have Coffin featured too. We're at the local coffee shop in
Nice.
town. Sheriff Felix has come in to get her cup of coffee for the day, and Vance and Coffin, these sort of townies, whatever,
Townies.
are just hanging out at the counter.
Yep.
As she comes up, Malcolm is behind the counter slinging pie
Oh,
and
Malcolm.
coffee. We kind of come down Main Street, pick up on the course of coming down Main Street, the sheriff who kind of waves and
Mm.
jaywalks
Mhm.
and waves at the person who they in their pickup as they walked past, and hey sheriff, how you doing? Kind of as the door
Morning,
closes,
Sheriff.
we on Malcolm's pies and thighs and his chicken and pie coffee place
Mhm.
as she goes in to this black checkered floored diner and sidles up to the counter. And Malcolm says, "Usual, Sheriff?" She says, "Yep. Why don't you double me up on coffee today? Treating Myers. Lost a little bet to him. How you boys doing?
Well,
Coffin, Vance?"
Hoping maybe you'll lose a bet to me one of these days, Sheriff.
If it has something to do with birds and clocks, I'm sure I would.
Hey, we all would, but how's the car holding up after the jump?
Well, working out pretty good. In fact, I have a little put away. If you want to come by and check out Myers was talking about some noise under his hood. If you want to pop by later, sure appreciate that.
Oh, I'll just come take a look. No trouble. No
Yeah.
trouble.
Listen, so there's a lot going on after that game.
The whole town's in an uproar. We ain't had this much bad blood in decades, maybe even a century
Yeah.
since that flood.
Yeah. Is
32.
the rivalry always this bad?
Oh, I mean, when I was in school here, yeah, took a couple ones on the chin for the football team.
I remember back in my day, Georgetown set a teepee on fire
That's
in
right.
the quad.
I remember that.
Don't worry, we got him back.
And as these two just kind of go off, John, about old sports plays and pranks they pulled on Georgetown, etc. Kind of cute girls from Georgetown and and girls from high school.
Sally Mae.
Just going off and around. Malcolm comes up kind of with a confused look and with his coffee in one hand and an envelope in the other and says, "Sheriff, these came for you. I don't know what this is all about." And puts it down on the counter. And she drinks her coffee and kind of looks at this plain manila envelope. As you guys are just kind of gabbing on and on.
We'll take a warm up here, friend Malcolm.
She cracks it open and it's photos. And the first photo is just a sort of a candid taken with a flash. Looks like he's in bed or laying down, like shirt off under a blanket. Picture of Adam smiling at the camera, and she puts down her coffee.
And then there was that one time where we scored 15 touchdowns in one game.
She flips to the next one. It shows Jefferies and Adam kissing again, both shirtless in bed and sort of like a selfie shirt. And it looks like Adam's like playfully trying to knock the camera off. And she flips through the next one, and it's just more and more of these sort of like a loving couple kind of thing. And,
So they had to chase the beaver off the field.
My God, they egged my house that same night. You remember?
What were those, robin eggs?
Well, they were blue. Must have been.
the last picture, or second to last, is a picture of the two boys sleeping in a bed, and it's taken from across the room. She flips to the last picture, and it's somewhere in the woods, and there's a light from behind. Whoever was taking this photo, you can actually see the silhouette of this person holding the camera. They have long hair, but they have a sort of a stocky build, and their silhouette goes along the ground, almost like there's headlights or something behind them, and you can just make out the trees and over the corpse of a deer with like red glistening guts in blood in the foreground. She steels herself and tucks the photos back into the envelope and walks out without her coffee. This one is protecting someone. You can't really make someone stop lying, especially not if they're doing it out of love or fear. The question is, what does a liar love or fear even more than the one they're protecting? I'm going to spotlight as Liza in this, and I'm going to say Eugene is in this scene.
Okay.
Eugene Wexler.
Yep.
And Eugene's girlfriend, who goes to Georgetown, goes by the name Ritzy. The camera plays up past the house of the Wexlers and goes into the backyard, and we see like a little boat moored by like just on the water in a little like quay area, and a small boathouse, like just a fishing shack basically, with some potential supplies in it. We see as we kind of come around the edge of this, between the water and this little like boat supply spot, there are 3 cherries. 3 in the dark. You see just the ends of 3 cigarettes. One gets brought up and dragged and brightens, and we see the face of Liza Wexler, and we kind of go into her POV, and now things are a little clearer up close, and she's standing there, arms crossed, just staring at Eugene and Ritzy, who steal glances to each other, and it's a little cool out here to be sweating, Eugene.
What can I say? My lady love makes me so warm.
Eugene?
Cut the shit.
What? What's the matter?
Adam had me getting drugs. For some reason.
Yeah, Adam liked to freak people out. Like to flip the script on them.
Didn't I just say cut the shit, Eugene? I know you, and you, Missy, are moving drugs in the school.
Yeah, so what?
Adam was spending a little too much time with old Preppy over there, quarterback.
Adam liked to have some money in his pocket so he could treat himself and his friends to the nicer thing.
I can smell it coming off you, boy. You tell me right now, why was he trying to get drugs for you?
Oh, come on now, Auntie. They weren't just for me, they're for him too.
Yeah, and it wasn't nothing as bad as I heard you used to do. Passing judgment.
Hey, quiet now. Quiet as my aunt's talking.
Whatever, Eugene.
Well, that's the question. Are you going to be able to get the next shipment in?
Things are dried up for you too. I'm putting the end to this. I'm closing the tap.
Somebody's making sure this stuff's getting in.
That's my question is, who is on your end, and why was Adam so upset? And he wouldn't be afraid of you, Eugene.
Well, from what I understand, he somehow was able to get hooked up with Ricardo the Red. Red's been running into town now.
You never told me that, Eugene.
Yeah. What do you didn't mean anything to you?
Mean anything? Ricardo, he's the kind of guy you don't mess with.
Well, people like to party, and Ricardo's got what they want, what they need. And I didn't see you complaining every time we went out to steaks.
Well, if I knew. God.
So, did you get him messed up with this, Ricky? With Ricardo?
Yeah, you know, Adam was chasing that high, looking for the next big thing. I told him to stay away. This was just shit that I was going to take care of. I don't know if he listened. He always was too smart for his own good.
This doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Listen, Red wouldn't hook up with some kid. Adam was too fresh-faced.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it myself. I mean, easy money, I guess.
He always did have a certain charm.
Adam and his study buddies, they always wanted to get high and read books,
Read books, they call it.
write poetry, all that flowery bullshit that he was so into. I guess I can't say maybe missed a little bit.
Yeah, that's when she smacks Eugene across the face and says, you're still selling me a line of shit. I don't know why you aren't just coming clean. Adam wasn't messed up in any of that. And I don't know why he was protecting you, and I don't know who you're protecting now. And she takes another long drag.
He was my brother and he's gone. You think I don't want to find the people who did this to him? But we reap what we sow. You got him hooked up with this. You got us hooked up with this. And now money's coming. They ain't people you just say no to. But with the heat on, with the cops, maybe it's time to take a step back. But if
You're still not being straight. And she storms off, and that's the end.
all right.
It's you.
Did she work to clear her name in the last scene?
No,
not really.
So I think I kind of have one here.
Sure.
We've got something called a sick place. A hidden entrance, a rat hole bathed in flickering yellow light, moisture, and an identifying object connecting someone undeniably to the place. So here we have a camera following along the running path. It follows the path that we saw, and it keeps going. And it dives into the thicker wilderness. And it's winding amid the tall pines. We're starting to see rocky outcroppings. We're starting to see and hear the signs of a river nearby. The camera slows down as it comes to this waterfall. And it comes up right to the waterfall and then plunges through it into a big cave behind it. And inside this cave, the camera pans around, and sitting inside there is Parker and also Roth And I think Liza actually is here too. Parker is kneeling over a tattered sort of chest. Roth is holding the key that fell off of his neck.
Oh.
And Parker's pointing at it and he's saying things and they're discussing stuff and Roth holds the key out. Parker takes it. He says, it's in here. You know, I'll unlock it for you and you can take a look through it, and this is where Adam kept all his favorite stuff, his treasures, he used to call it. His treasures, his inspirations. I mean, he barely even let me look through it, but he gave me this key, said if anything ever happened to him that I should come look at it. And I kind of thought maybe you should see it too, just in case. I don't know.
How'd the sheriff get it?
I don't know. I went missing after practice one day, and I think it must have fallen off my neck or something, because the sheriff was talking to me. I realized that same night that it was gone.
Liza is hiding behind a nearby tree watching the two of you. She happened by as she was walking in the forest and heard your voices. And as Roth inserts the key and turns it in the tumbler as the lock gives way, open the chest to reveal
Many things. This chest has a few books, it has papers, it has Polaroids, it has an old beat up Polaroid camera, actually. Same kind of camera that took the pictures in that folder. It has some tokens and strange things. A deer antler is in there. Some what appear to be just blank sheets of paper, but they're creased in thirds as if they've been folded up like letters. But when Roth opens them, there's no writing on them.
But Roth was there for the other blank letter.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he gets his mag light out.
Yeah, I think he even reaches for some, because this cave is like there's like empty beer cans around.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a
It's
hangout.
like a drink spot,
Exactly.
and like they had to. This thing was like hidden in a little like nook behind a rock.
Yep.
That like Jefferies kind of had. You had to kind of know. But there are like candles, like wax candles, and like old roaches and stuff all around.
Totally.
And that's what he goes around and starts lighting these candles, doing it in a specific order, and they're laying down the photographs around inside the circle of candles. He holds up the first letter and puts it over one of the larger candles.
As the sort of twisting cursive writing begins to appear in the heat once again, the writing that we recognize as being written on the letter that was found in Adam's room.
Yes, and it's a letter that has even further details than the original. Now it's starting to get specific, and it's starting to say, "My fawn, I'm coming for you. I realize now that no one should possess your glow, that it's not for anybody. It's too bright. It's too bright for this town. You're just my innocent little fawn, and I might just need to make sure that no one else has you. Soon. I'll see you soon."
As you're reading these letters, first Liza she's listening, tears in her eyes as these letters are read
Like,
aloud, just on the edge of the candlelight, just outside of the clearing near this waterfalls in Scarpment or whatever, and a bullet kind of grazes the tree that she's on, and she ducks down and rushes into the brush. A couple like lazy shots, like one ricochets into the water.
Whoa!
And then just boom, 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 a barrage of bullets start going through and hitting candles. One falls into the chest and it lights a fire, and you just see flashes of other bullets ricocheting as they crash through.
Whoa!
And go all around Myers and Parker.
Dun dun. Roth is going to reach for his gun, but he also ducks into cover, which is instinctual for him.
Yeah, he's kind of down behind a rock.
And he tries to grab Parker and haul him behind a rock, but as he does so, he sees blood running down Parker's leg.
Oh!
And he realizes Parker's taken a shot right in the thigh, which could or could not be a deadly wound.
Yeah. They kick the chest into the water, and the light goes out shortly thereafter. The shooting stops.
And then darkness is the only thing in this room in the rushing water. And then you hear a little voice lilting through the sound of the water like an echo. And it's like, "My fawn." And scene.
All right.
Cool.
So now we're to act close, right? Everyone's done a scene.
Yeah, act
thing.
close.
So I'll read the prompt. It seems unlikely that education will even make it onto the school board's agenda tonight, but the town's parents have reason to fear for their children's safety, and they demand to know what the school or anyone plans to do about it. When the raucous room quiets, to hear your comment to the board. So let's see, who all is in this scene? I'm going to say Meyer and the sheriff. Would you rather play a principal or like a concerned parent? What do you think?
I think I would be a concerned parent.
Okay. You're Abigail Jefferies.
Abigail.
Ah.
So you're
The
You're the
mother.
mother. You're like your family is like they own the mill in
Well-to-do.
town, Jefferies Mill. It's been, so they have run this town. She is direct bloodline, like the husband is sort of cows to her word, and so she's the voice of this town.
Yes. And I imagine the school has brought in the police to help speak for.
The sheriff and the deputy are both seated sort of on this little like stage in the auditorium
Yep.
where the school board meeting is being held. There's a series of desks arrayed where the school board president is addressing everyone and trying to keep order. And we're there on stage in chairs off to the side
Okay.
to be prompted to answer. We are back on the school sign as headlights illuminate it and it falls back into darkness. And we pan up to this school at night with just a few lights on and people parking their cars and, older parents basically helping each other out of their cars and walking into this building. We then, from the red light of this tail light, cut to the red lined interior of this school auditorium. These heavy red curtains hang just behind these desks where the school board sits. There's a microphone set up for parents to kind of get up and speak their mind to the school board. The president of the school board is kind of closing their remarks saying, there's no reason to be alarmed. What happened at last week's game was not something that we're proud of, and the rumors about Georgetown are unfounded, and really no one is in danger here. We had some raucousness. It was school spirit getting out of hand. We've had the unfortunate loss of one of the students here, and we will be holding school vigil for that. But really, and I believe our sheriff here can attest to this, that there's nothing to be afraid of. And that's when the sheriff is sort of prompted to rise.
Yep.
And
Holding her hat in her hands, Sheriff Felix keeps her reddish, blondish hair short in a ponytail, like really short ponytail, almost like a military haircut. He walks up to the podium, head bowed, everyone, and says, "That's right. We all know this community's been going through some real tough times. We're all hurting, and when people are hurting, sometimes they just want to show people how hurt they are. And we understand that. Last week's game was not a situation we ever want to see repeated again. And we've identified some of the ringleaders. And we're in consultation with our partners in Georgetown."
Yeah, and as you drone on, like ire rises in Abigail Jefferies' belly. Her son, like they pay so many taxes to the school. They've dedicated, this auditorium is the Jefferies auditorium. It's built from wood from their mill, and her son is in the hospital right now. And as she rises, Roth Myers kind of shrinks in his chair and can't look her in the eye.
Mrs. Jefferies, yes. Can I answer a question for you?
Sheriff, I'd like to say on behalf of all of the parents here that we appreciate your efforts. However, I don't believe I can sleep easy at night with my son in the hospital, just knowing that you're in consultation with Georgetown. Sheriff, how are our students supposed to study when they can't even expect safety?
Now, Miss Parker, Miss Jefferies, Miss Jefferies, your boy Parker is such a important member of this school community. We were so sorry to hear of his injuries, and we hope for a speedy recovery. Well, I all that is to say that you can all have good confidence in your police force. We will make sure that you all remain safe. We are continuing the investigation into these terrible, terrible occurrences. And for now, it seems we'll probably be canceling the games for the rest of the season just in honor of Adam's disappearance.
Sheriff, canceling the game is not enough at this point. I think that the people of this community, we need to start to take the safety of our children into our own hands and she glares at Roth, if we can't rely on the police to keep them out of danger.
Yeah, Roth jumps up at this point, his chair clattering behind him, and says, I look out for your kids. I don't know who's out there trying to get them, but I can't take this.
Now,
And he stomps off stage, eyes watering.
Now, look what you did there.
And the whole audience erupts, like drowning out the sheriff and
Now that's a good man there. You can't just send him packing like that.
yeah, and I think that's when the president tries to get control, and Abigail Jefferies, just leans in and says, "My son will not be going back to this school," and that just starts.
No one's safe.
Boo hiss.
No one's safe.
All right.
All right.
That is Act 2. Close. Deputy, soft-hearted. If you gave in to emotions inappropriately in the last scene, flip this card.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
The sheriff, if you exposed guilt in town.
Not yet.
Not really,
No.
right? So Instruments of Evil. This is going to be, I think the sheriff is going to be, I'll focus on her for this. And I think Mr. Coffin is going to be in the scene. Who wants to play Mr. Coffin? It might just be a two-person scene initially.
Sure.
But someone else may come into play. So the camera is moving upriver through a series of trees that have thin and thin until you get to just cleared land. And beyond that is the mill. But everything looks halted. It's midday. The mill should be in full hum. You should be hearing the buzz of saw blades. Things should be moving. Should be noise coming from this. And camera goes in, we cut in, and there's light filtering into the mill through these shafts. There's sawdust moving through it. There's trees like half hewn in going through the like where the buzzsaws have stopped. And the sheriff with Mr. Coffin hot on her heels is making her way deeper into the mill. That's where they run smack into Abigail Jefferies, who's there, and sheriff says, I'm sorry we had to close off the mill, but Miss Jefferies, we had to secure the crime scene.
I understand. I wouldn't stop you. Do what you need to.
It's your mill, but it's a pretty grisly scene in there. I don't think you need to, it's up to you if you can stomach it. Coffin.
I got the mop here and
yeah, I need
ammonia.
you to, we're going to have to start this machine up again to get him out of there.
All right. I'll help you out as best I can.
You round the corner and there's this like sanding belt, like industrial size, like thing. I don't know what it is. It's scary looking. Wedged inside it, like crammed inside, is a body in a leather jacket. And you just kind of see the base of the jacket, one hand hanging out, and legs and tennis shoes that it ends in, blue jeans. The sheriff sighs.
All right, Sheriff. I'll try and wedge him out of there.
And Abigail, does she follow?
She does, and she says, you're going to have to put the machine in reverse, I think.
Yeah, and she's kind of steely-eyed, Abigail. She's seen worse accidents at the mill.
She has.
All right, no problem. I'll get it going in reverse then.
Does this look like an accident to you?
Craziest kind of accident I ever seen.
This isn't someone in uniform. Is anybody missing from your team?
From the team, no. They all clocked out at the end of the night. It doesn't look like someone from the team. It doesn't look like an accident.
Did anyone on your team wear All-Stars?
Yeah, and Coffin's working away at the thing, and the smell hits him, and he swallows it back, and finally gets the machine going in reverse, and it goes, and just
Here it comes.
spits
Here it
out
comes.
this shredded, mashed mass in a leather jacket, lays face down at the base of the conveyor belt, And the belt continues to spin, spraying with little bits of blood. Moments later, a deer carcass follows and falls, and they stop the belt just
What
before
the
the carcass falls
hell?
off.
God.
Hold on, Coffin, can you? Well, no, here, hold on.
Oh.
And the sheriff pulls some gloves out from her jacket. Miss Jefferies, I'm gonna have to ask you to step back and please watch your step. She snaps on these gloves and just gently turns over the body to try to see who it is.
I think as she turns over the body to identify it, we can see that this body has been savaged by some sort of animal. It is, in fact, Razzie, the girlfriend of Eugene Wexler. Ritzy, excuse me. Ritzy.
Friend of Razzie.
Friend of Razzie.
Mm-hmm.
Ritzy and Razzie, they call them.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're part of the R gang in Georgetown.
Inseparable.
Red's R gang.
Exactly. Yeah, a girl from Georgetown High, dead here in the mill.
This is a girl from Georgetown.
Georgetown, what?
Abigail like has a hand on her chest and she's sort of like against the wall and starting to lose her cool.
Oh,
Oh,
God. Felix, this is too much. I've seen dead deer before, but not dead. Oh, I think Mr. Coffin takes off his sort of formless ball cap in sort of like honor of the dead. He's all sort of bald with sort of a scraggly pate.
Anessa, getting past the initial shock, notices that because one arm was kind of down in the machine, and the other arm, it was clutched near the chest and is crushed. And as she turned her over, the hand is opened, and there's a crumpled bit of paper in there.
Ooh.
And she kind of takes a pencil and wedges it out and opens it, and it's a flyer. It just says "Jor" and stops. She goes, "It still points to Georgetown."
but why would someone from Georgetown do this to one of their own? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I just don't know. And that's where we end the scene.
Ooh.
Thankless Handyman, did you reveal that you don't understand something in the last scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, the senseless
Okay.
murder of children.
Yeah.
Okay. And local sheriff, did you expose guilt in the town in the last scene?
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Maybe, sure,
more murder.
sure, yeah.
There's more crime, more guilt.
Mhm.
Okay. So next scenes.
I have a scene beyond the physical. It's a dream, but at the same time more than that. You're aware you're in control and the killer is in there waiting. If you mark them here, will they bear that mark upon waking? The main character of this scene, I think, is going to be Roth. And also in this scene are Simon and Mr. Coffin.
Okay, I will be Mr. Coffin. So this is here, you set up the scene.
This is a dream, but it's actually inside the coffee shop. So how this happens is the camera just springs into sudden awareness inside the coffee shop, and it's like drifting around slowly. Oddly, the same mist that's outside often is actually sort of rolling along the floors and off the tabletops inside this little coffee shop, Pies and Thighs. And it's a normal day for the coffee club. So you have Mr. Coffin and you have Simon sitting there chatting it up.
Coffee clutch.
And Roth is sitting at his normal stool at the counter, and the owner is saying something to him, but he can't really hear it. It sounds just like muffled words because he's sitting just one stool away from a person who's turned around and facing him and just staring at him. And this person actually has just deer antlers on their head. And it's one of the kids that started up that whole ruckus on the track. It was that
Razzie.
greaseball kid with his hair that he gels back who let those goats loose. But he's got these real antlers growing out of his head, and he's just staring at Roth. Our scene starts, with something. What's this?
So, yeah, he's staring and staring, and there's almost a third eye, this red light that starts to glow and pulse in the center of his head. And the eyes that are staring go wide and blank. And this red light becomes a hole, and a trail of blood starts to run down the face.
Mr. Coffin, he says, What do you think about that, Roth? And Roth's coffee gets set down in front of him, and nobody else seems to notice this person. And it's kind of like the mist rolls aside off the top as the mug slams down, and he kind of mechanically reaches out for it. He says to Coffin, what about what? Think about what? He's
Well.
staring at this kid.
What do you think about what the opening was of the time saver? Did you hear when the sound and the build and the cheft? Don't you remember?
He says, yeah. It was something else. Coffin, are you, who is this kid? And he points at the kid.
Simon looks at the kid and then
Or
holds
Simon.
up a cuckoo clock. And as he turns something in the back of it, the door in front opens and the cuckoo comes out. The face, though, of the bird is Sheriff Felix, as Simon reminds. The face of the sheriff. That's the path, the truth.
Roth takes a sip of his coffee, and he looks back at this kid, and the kid's now sitting in the stool next to him without him noticing it move, rather than one stool away. And Roth sets the cup down, and he picks up one of the butter knives that's sitting out where his plate is, and just takes it and traces this just cut down this kid's arm, and is just appalled to see that it actually cuts the kid, but the kid doesn't respond, and there's blood rolling down this kid's arm. And then Roth gasps awake in his own bed, and he's throwing the covers off of himself, and he realizes he's holding on to just something that was on his nightstand in the same hand,
Ooh.
and it's the key. End scene.
Thankless Handyman, did they fix something in the last scene? No. If people were puzzled by your words or action in the last scene, flip this card over.
It seems
Sure
like that. Seems like that. That
And
was
soft hard Deupty, if your emotional reaction jeopardized the case in the last scene, flip this card over.
Not like concretely,
Yeah,
no.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay, here is a scene as well. This scene is definitely going to be Sheriff Felix, Deputy Mayors as well. And we're going to have Parker Jefferies returning.
Back.
The camera establishes us at a seaside house, like a vacation house. We see Tall Pines sheriff car pulling up in front of this very quaint seashell pink painted cottage. The seaside cottage. It looks like a place that is a vacation home or is probably rented out during the year to those who want to vacation by the sea. It's dirty. The sides of the building are. They haven't been washed. The windows are dirty. They have not been washed. It has just this drab, rundown look to it. And there are like some old school decorations, like a wind chime, which has fallen into disrepair, and probably some like fake seagulls that are sort of been set in different places that have been scoured by the elements. So they've lost their paint. They're just these white plastic seagulls now. Maybe you can tell that they had black eyes or yellow beaks at one point. We see the address, which is 687, and then we see that same address as we match into the cop car on a piece of paper that Deputy Roth is holding. The sheriff is saying, "Wow, I'm glad you brought this to me. If this was in his box of treasures, maybe there's something inside."
Yeah, it's just more secrets the more we dig.
He was into something. I'm hoping we find out.
It's just gonna lead to more hurt kids.
Yeah? Well, we gotta stop the hurt. That's for sure. And, alright, get ready for anything. We don't know what's in there. And as they go up to the front door, knock on it, and it actually just creaks open. Grrr. Lights are off inside, but the sheriff draws her sidearm and gives a nod, Deputy Mayor's, as she slips in. He follows her, and this place has the feeling of basically like a drug den. There are like black light posters on the walls. There are burns in the carpet. The furniture are these lazy boys that are all broken in, probably from the 80s. I mean, they're decades old. It's just all this sort of beat up furniture. People have like spilled beer everywhere, so it smells like stale beer, and like they've graffitied sort of the faux particle board walls and cut into them with knives, and just this whole place just looks like it's a dive. And as we're poking around, we hear someone crying inside. Looking around, we find Parker Jefferies III in his tracksuit, curled up on one of the bedroom floors, and he's just sobbing. The sheriff says, What are you doing here, son?"
He came here, and I just wanted to come here too. I know he came here. He came here the day before it happened.
Looking around, the sheriff starts to realize she's seen this bedroom before in photos that she received in an envelope a few days prior. And she says, "You've been here before, haven't you? You've been here with him."
Yeah, not every time he came, but I came a couple times with him.
"Who else was here with you, son? Who else was here? You have to tell us, Parker."
Eugene came for a bit, and his girlfriend, but no one else from school.
All right, son. Myers, you're going to have to get a warrant for your arrest.
He's just a kid.
I know, but
I mean, hasn't that family been through enough?
he's the best lead we got, and he's been lying to us. We're going to need to bring him in.
As this sort of quiet conversation is going on, in a neighboring room, just kind of leaned against the wall, is the stepdad.
Yeah.
He's just quietly takes another drag on his cigarette and stamps it out in the ashtray and crosses his arms and just keeps listening.
And that dad, he kind of, maybe for the first time, kind of smiles. This is the first time we've seen him have any emotion.
Sick
And it's a
smile.
weird, crooked smile.
The stepdad, with this crooked, evil smile, pulling out a VHS tape and like laying it on like the couch that is nearby and like quietly leaving. Okay, we have our final scene.
At first, you can't tell what you're seeing on the little screen. But soon the video resolves itself, and there is the killer, free and presumably out of your reach. It feels like they're staring into your eyes, like they see you, even though this is a recording. Then they speak, and it's clear that this message is meant only for you.
Ooh.
We're doing understanding, so we're going to include something impossible occurring on the video. So this scene is going to be centered around poor deputy sheriff, but the sheriff is also going to be in the scene. And also, I think that Eugene probably will be in the
Sure.
scene.
Okay.
So the scene opens up, and Eugene is in a room being questioned by the sheriff. So the camera comes alive over a dark lit table with a light. Eugene is in a chair, not restrained or cuffed or anything. He's just in this metal chair at this metal table, and the sheriff is sitting opposite him. And she's got a cup of coffee, and she's eyeing him, and she's like, "All right, Eugene, it's time to talk." And in another room, at the same time, we have the deputy, and he's sitting at his desk, and he's kind of nervously tapping his feet, and he's rolling pencils around on the table. And then finally, after fidgeting while this interrogation is going on in the other room, he reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out the VHS. He glances at the door, and then he pops the tape into the player in his room. And static starts to appear on the screen, and then it sort of warps itself into a recording. And
Cut back to the conversation.
back to the combo.
Look, we know you've been bringing drugs into town. We know you lied about where you were the night of the murder. We know that your girlfriend's dead, killed in very similar circumstances to your brother, the person that you were in business with for this drug trade. Now, what I can't put together here is how you went about making the invisible ink. Can you shed any light on that for me?
He's like pale flush, especially as you mentioned the two deaths. He's like, I can't. I'll be next. I'm marked. I may as well be dead. I can't tell you anything.
Now, we can protect you. You just need to tell us about this fawn killer. Who is this?
I don't.
Who is this?
It's.
Who is this person?
I'm-
Who's this person who took the photos? Who took
I'm as
these
good.
photos?
I'm as good as dead.
Did you take these photos?
No.
Did you take these photos of your brother with another man?
No, of course not. I didn't know.
You did not know that your brother and Parker Jefferies III were in a psychosexual relationship?
I had no idea. I knew. I just thought he was dealing them drugs, dealing the whole team drugs, performance enhancers, all kinds of good stuff. I can't talk to you. I'm done. Give me a phone call.
And we're gonna cut back to the tape room. What Roth is seeing on the screen is a nighttime setting in a room, and the camera gets set down on a nightstand, and you see drawing away from the camera facing it, taking backward steps is the stepfather. And he's staring right into the lens, and it feels like he's staring at Roth, making eye contact with him, and he's backing up. And he's in a bedroom. He's in just a small, regular bedroom. It's dark out, and it's a full moon through the window. And he stands over the bed, and you can see from the way he moves that it's Eugene. And the father stares at the camera and makes little antlers on his head with his hands. And he kind of smiles in sort of bizarre way. And then he takes out a knife from under his jacket and raises it and just plunges it into Eugene's body over and over and over again. And we're gonna, as we cut back to Eugene, night is falling outside, and tonight is the full moon. But it hasn't yet been the full moon.
Mm-hmm. As we kind of cut between these two scenes of this footage that is impossible and this kid in the interrogation room, we go to another screen where a VHS camera is set up and hooked directly into a little TV, and it's paused at the same moment. And these long, elegant hands with beautiful fingernails, with photos of Adam Wexler all along the wall, start writing in cursive script, "My beautiful boy, you are the light, and I got to see you before it was extinguished."
Roth starts crying out for the sheriff's attention watching this video and finally starting to put things together. The sheriff rushes out of the interrogation room and to see this footage and to be gobsmacked by the revelation that the stepfather was so intimately involved in this, and then watching the person that she was just talking to being murdered on the video as well. She turns around to rush back in to talk more with Eugene, but he's gone.
I think night is falling, and by the time they realize that they should probably go try to look at Eugene's home, it's already very late at night. We would end the scene with the cop car flying down the street, flipping its sirens on, with the moon high up above,
Ooh, cool.
headed towards this cul-de-sac.
So we can do a little like post-mortem.
Yeah.
If this were a TV series, would it get another season? And would there be a spin-off for specific characters?
It'd be like American Horror Story, where they kind of solved it, but maybe they would have additional spin-off.
I could see there being another season that gets more into like the fucked up stuff that Eugene is into, and maybe more about like Roth and Anessa, the sheriff and the deputy, maybe going after them or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'd want to see more weirdness coming out of Sheriff Felix. I feel like Sheriff Felix is a big mystery
Yeah.
that we didn't really get to the bottom of, that she's got more weird shit going on.
Who do you guys think killed the victim? Are there multiple subjects? Were they the same killer?
I mean, I think that it may not have been the dad. Maybe I think that there's more to it. Like the stepdad might be some like cultish or spiritual leader, but I think the Georgetown kids were involved for sure. Maybe they view him as some supernatural force that they revere.
Could be. I mean, it could be Ritzy, right? Is that Ritzy was sort of the connection, and then that loose end was tied up to sort of sever that connection.
I bet the stepdad went to Georgetown.
Total Georgetown.
It can also be like psychedelic, where it's like not what you see is not always what it appears, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
I think we did pretty good about like there weren't many threads dropped. Like we just kind of there were like a few things like out there, like drug gangs, but they all just could have been supporting characters.
I mentioned like a drug lord from the city that we didn't really.
Which is a kind of a good red herring, because that's a direction the cops would probably go in if they were trying to discount the supernatural. They'd be like, no.
But we have Eugene, who's died on tape but is still walking around.
Yeah. How about this? Did you consciously draw on pop culture in creating bits of the story?
I mean, I had a little bit of the Breakfast Club classics in my head, for the jock and everything. Like, I think
Yeah.
we did do sort of classic renditions of
It's
of
hard
those
not
types.
to use the Twin Peaks sort of references that I already
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Especially for like something like the Hardened Criminal or the Eccentric, the
Mhm.
Cherished Eccentric, or even just the soft-hearted Deupty. Those
Right.
are all archetypes that I
Oh my
think were
gosh.
really
yeah.
hardcore from Twin Peaks.
I think my lack of knowledge of Twin
Yeah,
Peaks
really
might
actually
have.
helped you out here.
Yeah.
I think.
I've been watching lots of Hannibal, so the like
Mm.
fawn killing stuff was like right in that. Like,
I've never seen
That
that
was good.
either
Yeah,
because
that
it's
was-
too.
That was good and
I,
creepy.
I
It
get
was
I
good.
creep myself out so easily
It's
that I
pretty-
can't watch scary movies.
it's pretty well done. And I'll do one last question. Let's see. Who was your favorite protagonist, and who was your favorite supporting character? Which character do you trust the least?
I don't know. My favorite protagonist was Deputy Mayers. I feel like that was our main character, and for some reason, I felt like that was our main character,
Mhm.
or turned into our main character by the
Mhm.
end. Character I like the least, or no, what character?
Trust the least.
Trust the least. I think it's a toss-up between the sheriff and the hardened criminal. It's one of those two. It's either
Mm.
it's Liza or it's Sheriff Felix.
Yeah, you had mistrust for the sheriff.
Yeah, so
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes, I think Coffin was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, just because he had
Handyman?
like the most possibilities, and Vance was the one I trusted the least. He's like the most sinister to me.
Really?
Yeah, like
I like it.
Like,
yeah, very
The
mystical.
unknown ones.
innocent eccentricity
Yeah,
always could
Yeah.
bode poorly.
that's true.
Well, I really like the fact that the stepdad turned out to be bad because he was so.
Yeah, we never even gave a name to.
But
or
John
like-
gave him a
stepdad.
really good
Yeah.
foreshadowing
Oh,
where the
definitely.
smoking and the emotionless reaction to
yeah,
the fight and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
No, that's true.
but who was my favorite? I think my favorite was probably Roth because he was so conflicted and involved
Yeah.
and
Scoutmaster.
yeah. I liked
The
Parker too
Scoutmaster.
because he was so innocently gay.
Yeah.
But who didn't I trust? Liza. I didn't
Mm.
trust Liza. Mhm.
Yeah, see, I trust Liza because she's like no nonsense.
Nah,
That's very true.
no nonsense criminal.
Yeah.
Hardened, she knows the way around.
score.
Yeah. With that, our story ends. We will return with a new tale to spin to dare to entertain. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho and on Instagram at board_ghost. Ken, where can people find you?
Board Ghosts. Find me, Ken Breeze, on Twitter and Instagram at Berlingsbeard, BERLINGS Beard. Also, my website of the same name. I am a for-hire dungeon master in the New York City area and an independent Dungeons and Dragons content creator. In fact, just had a product release called the Adventure Mixtape. Check it out on Drive-Thru RPG. It is 4 one-shot D&D adventures and 4 awesome pieces of music paired with the adventures.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on board, Ghost. You guys,
Yeah.
this is so fun. I am Kelsey Dion. You can find me on my website for the Arcane Library, so it's thearcanelibrary.com. And I, too, am excited about the launch of the Adventure Mixtape, having been a part of it as well. I am also in the D&D world mostly, playing role-playing games with cool people in New York. So
Nice. Well, thank you for being on again.
And you're going down to Virginia, too, to play D&D sometime soon.
I got invited to go down to visit the Castle Mac live streaming crew, and
cool.
we're doing an Extra Life fundraiser.
Nice.
It'll be really fun.
So to learn more about the engine and players in our story, go check out boardghost.com. You can follow us on Twitter at boardghostworld. You can help collaborate in making the show by going to boardghost.com/Patreon, where you can get access to episode parts early. You can get access to art. You can get access to exclusive how to play videos for some of the games we've got going. Again, this game was put out by Tall Pines, was put out by Self-Critical Hit Games, so we'll have a link to that on the website at boardghost.com. Hey everybody, I'd like to thank Pat for our theme song interlude music. You can check him out at patcouples.tumblr.com or his band's website hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
Dying don't agree